Oh, hashtag King Liam. Oh my God, we're gonna get into it. What's up, guys? This is the Royal Hangover for episode 8 of The Royals. Series creator Mark Schwahn is with us. How you doing? I missed you.
I missed you too. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
New Year.
Glad to see you back here. Guys, start tweeting us your comments with the hashtag The Royal Hangover. Later, we'll show Mark 3 of your tweets, and he'll pick the one that he wants to answer. Although last time you answered all of the tweets, so maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe we'll make him do it again.
'Tis the season.
Yeah.
If we get 3 tweets, we'll answer 3 tweets.
That's your resolution this year? To answer more Twitter
questions.
questions.
More tweets. Exactly.
Don't forget, if you're on the West Coast, check back in about 3 hours so you avoid all the spoilers we're going to be getting into. All right. Huge moment to end the show, but we've got to go back. We've got to talk about Joan Collins. She's a very bad girl in this episode. And I want to get to both of her big moments. So let's start with Violet. Here's a clip of the Grand Duchess admitting that she killed Violet.
You had her for tea yesterday, and you poisoned her just like that horse.
She was a maid, for God's sakes. You were going to marry a maid? That's pathetic.
I loved Violet, and I always will. But that's not who I plan to marry. The engagement ring is for the mother of my son, the heir to the throne. Congratulations. You killed the wrong maid, bitch.
If I had a giant organ, should we be worried? Will he want further revenge on the family for killing Violet? Because, I mean, this sort of seems like kind of a revenge-y moment.
You know, that's a really good question, and I think that question will be answered in the next 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we will talk after the finale, and
Okay.
and you will have seen that your question was answered, and that's what's I think was so great about this is. We have really good villains on the show.
Mm-hmm.
You saw 3 of them, maybe 4 of them, standing in the room together, and you know they're really effective at being bad.
Yeah.
And when cornered, they will fight tooth and nail, and they'll be as malicious and as nefarious and as mean as they need to be. And I love that for a show like this.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Given that, what's Helena's next move? Should she push for an end to the monarchy so that Cyrus and his son don't rule England? Although I will say that there was a moment where she seemed like she was going towards the redemption route during that episode.
Well,
until that very moment that we just watched.
That's also, I mean, I think the context of that question is great because she can go one of 2 ways. Mm-hmm. One we know is to fight back and to fight really dirty and to really, you know, we know she can do that. But she's also getting closer to her children. Mm-hmm. So, you know, this great episode we just had where she went horseback riding with her daughter.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the next episode, she's going to see this speech that Liam has made, you know, this thing that's now on YouTube and blowing up on social media, and she'll be aware of that. Is her journey to get closer to her family and be more maternal and to say enough is enough, I need to set all this down and find my way back to what's right and what's good? Or is it to go the opposite direction and say, you know what, all bets are off and I'm going to be more nefarious and more malicious, and that's that's so compelling about everybody is in a really cool place right now as we head towards the finale.
Does she recognize maybe why her mother did the things she does in this episode? She understands that she did them, and then it seemed like she felt bad about it, and so now maybe she might be thinking like, oh, I kind of get it. I'm in danger now.
Well, I think even more so, I think Eleanor recognizes how that her mother was raised under this sort of cloud of the Grand Duchess. Mm-hmm. And, you know, in the previous episode, she said to her mom, the Duchy rocks.
Yeah.
The Duchy's great. And then at the end of this episode, she comes to her mother and she says, she was wrong. She told you don't look great in diamonds. She was wrong about a lot of things. You know, I think that the daughter now, the Queen's daughter, our princess, now sees that her mother didn't have it quite so easy and wasn't being quite as selfish as she thought she was. And, you know, again, never say never, but if those two bury the hatchet a bit, they could be really great allies. You know, they're both effective at doing what they do.
Yeah.
So I see the family sort of coming together. Doesn't mean it's going to stay that way.
Yeah.
But I feel like the family is starting to come together a little bit. Not to mention this was a big episode for Liam.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to get into that. But before we do, Joan had another really big moment tonight, this one involving the murder of Dominique.
Yeah.
So here's the Grand Duchess dropping the bomb on Helena, Eleanor, and Liam.
Her horse threw her.
Her horse was drugged.
Maybe it was.
Maybe it was.
You killed her, didn't you?
I did no
You
such
did it so you
thing.
could be queen.
That's not true. You did!
Admit you did it.
I did it. And you two spoiled brats should thank me for it.
Oh my gosh, that is a good moment. I mean, in hindsight, it sort of seems obvious that Joan Collins, sort of the great soap opera, primetime soap opera villainess, would be behind both of these murders.
Yeah.
Did she relish playing such like a scheming bitch?
I think she does. I think that she, you know, there are actors that are smart enough to know that villains are always relevant. They're always stirring the drink. You know, the heroes can be a bit of the moral center, and sometimes it gets a little vanilla and boring, and there's not interesting things to play. But, you know, Dame Joan has been around the block. I mean, Dynasty was the end-all be-all of this type of show. And she knows that a good villain is relevant and effective. We talked about it, but she was game. I was laughing because my mother is texting me about the episode.
Oh yeah, what is she saying?
And I had told her that Dame Joan wore that jacket that you just saw in that scene, and
That
she
gold one.
loved. Yes, it's this Balmain jacket, and it's very expensive, and she loved it.
Uh-huh.
And so she did such a great job for us this season that I sent it to her as a gift.
Oh, no
and
way.
my mom is texting me saying, "No wonder she wanted it. She looks great in it."
Was your mom kind of like, I like jackets?
Possibly. But she says, my mom says she was on the edge of her seat, and she was glued to the television.
That's
Now that's high praise from my mom because most of the time she criticizes.
yeah.
So
If you get the stamp of approval from mom.
yeah, so she's into where the show is currently.
So
at.
Joan's a bad lady in this. I mean, I couldn't help but like sort of see similarities between another matriarch, Kris
Yeah.
Jenner. Did you model her after?
You know, I've never thought about that, but
They're both controlling these huge families, master chess players.
I would see similarities between Queen Helena and Kris.
Oh, all right.
Because you know, and I hadn't considered that before, but I think that, you know, look, the Grand Duchess she's done some things, and she's obviously she's been manipulative.
Yeah.
But don't underestimate our queen. You know, she's really the one that I think that controls this family.
Yeah.
And while she is willing to, and as I said, she's willing to bury the hatchet sometimes, and she's willing to take a step back, I don't think you can underestimate the strength of the queen or Cyrus or anybody else who wants what they want.
Well, now we've got to talk, that's an excellent segue. We've got to talk about #King Liam
Yeah.
because that was sort of a moment where you saw that he might actually have more power than the rest of them.
Yeah.
But he was always sort of seemed to be anyway, the moral center of the family. Does he have the strength to help save the monarchy, survive all these scandals and sort of these internal battles that are happening right now?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? Is he willing to fight fire with fire? Is he willing to get his hands dirty? Maybe he needs a Jasper. You know, somebody, maybe he needs an ally, somebody who knows those ropes and that he can ally with. But what I love about Liam in this episode, and obviously it was a choice we made in the writer's room, is that you really see him starting to come into his own. You know, in his speech to Dominique, he says, I think for the first time, my father believed in, you know, abolishing the monarchy, and he believed in doing away with it. But I know where he was coming from. He was grief-stricken over the loss of Robert.
Yeah.
And he says, but I think there's a monarchy here worth preserving, and I think we owe it to the good people that we've lost along the way to do just that. And I think it's the first time he says it out loud. He also tells his mother, deal with your mother. He tells Eleanor says, you deal with it, I'm not strong enough today.
Yeah.
So she's deferring to him. He tells Cyrus, fix this, but don't make it worse because I won't protect you. Like, we start to see Liam, he's starting to give some directives and he's starting to come into his own, which leads to #King Liam. I think that's a great movement. I think it's an unexpected movement. And I think you saw this kid who doubted if he could be king or if he had the facilities and the faculties to be that person. And I think this episode starts to answer those questions and say that yes, he can and he wants to.
Yeah, that's amazing. We've got to get to some tweets real quick, though.
Right.
You guys have been tweeting us your comments for Mark with the #Royal Hangover. We flagged 3 of our favorites. We're going to show them to Mark, and we're going to have him answer them. But I mean, let's be honest. You're going to answer all of them
Yeah.
right now because it's your resolution.
I'm happy to. Here we go.
All right, here we go. First one.
There's not much of a resolution. Is there?
No. Why has Ted's wife started showing up? Is it a guilty conscience? It's from Glam Slam STL.
Well, we know that Ted's wife is driven internally by Ted's psyche.
Yeah.
You know, she would have judged him for the choices he's making. And what I love about Ted's wife is as Ted starts to unravel, as he grows more guilty, as he starts to lose it a bit, her shape changes. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why we're seeing her. She's being more judgmental. She's saying meaner things. She's preying on his insecurities. She's judging him because I think he's doing all those things to himself.
Yeah.
So I think that's the role that she plays as Greek chorus, and I think it's really compelling. And by the way, Stephanie Vogt did such a great job with that character.
She's great.
Really great.
Yeah. Really good at playing the guilty conscience,
Oh,
too.
she was really game, and I put a ghost in lingerie.
Yeah.
And the crew was pleased about that. Stephanie was very
What
brave.
other show can you do that on?
Exactly.
All right, let's take a look at this second tweet we've got here. What's the most difficult part in working with new actresses versus veterans? How do you encourage them to be close? That's from Miley C Fan Forever.
I think she had a question last time.
You might be right. You got very loyal fans,
Yeah,
hence their names.
The veterans do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Quite frankly, Elizabeth Hurley leads with such grace, and she is so protective of Alex and of the younger actors, and she leads them and she tutors them and she educates them in a really great way. For me as a director, I probably do a little more teaching. Obviously, the veterans that have been around the block, my job is to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll suggest something once in a while. With the younger actors, I'm probably referencing subtext more often and saying, let's talk about the emotion that's beneath the scene.
Yeah.
But I got to say, Elizabeth she does a lot for me and for the show in terms of educating and helping the younger actors.
Very cool. All right, let's look at this final tweet. How much fun is it for cast and crew to do location shoots around the UK instead of inside studio scenes?
Yeah,
I would imagine it's probably fun but hard.
Well, what's funny is this is an episode where we never left the stage. We shot this one in 6 days, and it was all on our sets. We never left. But obviously, it's an incredible luxury to be in the UK.
Yeah.
We're going to these palatial estates. We're going to palaces. We're going to buildings that are so much older than our country. The bad days are when we hit a door with the crane, as we did at the Great Painted Hall, which is our royal throne room.
No.
We nicked a door with the crane, and this door that's been there for hundreds of years. And I remember saying, just shoot everything because we'll never be invited back. So,
This is it.
anyway, it's a wonderful luxury to
Oh
be
my
in
God,
London.
you had an insurance person on the set who was just like, no.
Yeah,
Oh,
everybody's
God.
freaking out. Exactly.
This is terrible. Before we go, we've got an exclusive clip from next week's episode of The Royals when we're going to start getting some closure, I would imagine, on some of these crazy good story threads. Let's take a look at this tease.
Please, have a seat. Oh, wait. I need your weapon.
Please, have a seat. I need to speak with you. In confidence.
Please, take a seat.
With all respect, ma'am, I'd rather stand.
Oh, with all due respect, we're going to have to wait until next week to see how that plays out. Thank you so much, Mark. Guys, keep the conversation going on social. Follow the Royals on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Next week, we got a very special live stream for you Sunday night when reality show royalty will be here. A woman whose life is filled with about as much drama as Eleanor and Liam's. It's Lisa Vanderpump from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She'll be sitting right there. Not here. This is my chair. Have a good night, everybody. I don't know. Have a good night, guys. Thank you.